Hello data scientist, welcome to Skillgate. In this video we shall deploy a sentiment analysis model and then test its functionality in a live environment. Deploying a model is like making it available for your target audience to benefit from your model's intelligence. So you need to essentially create a package of files that include all the dependencies your model may need to run in a whole new and isolated system. So once we complete our deployment, this is what our ML project front-end UI should be like. Hope I have excited you enough already. On this note, let's get started. For introductions, we are Skillgate and we are on a mission to bring you application-based machine learning education. We launch new machine learning projects every month, so make sure to subscribe to our channel to get access to all of our ML projects. In our previous video, we have already trained a sentiment analysis model. If you haven't watched this model training video yet, I strongly recommend you to do it now to have end-to-end visibility of formulating a machine learning problem, training ML model, deploying model, and then testing it in a live environment. I'll put the link to this video in the description part below for your easy access. Now, this is an oversimplified ML project flow. Over here we have two stages. First one is model building, where we write a training code and run it on labeled data to get our ML model with desired functionality that we have already done. Second stage is deployment, where we deploy the developed model for the desired target group to consume. For this, we additionally need a web app code, right? Because we will be making use of Flask. So we need a Flask app that helps us perform live queries on our sentiment analysis model pickle file sitting at the backend, right? Something like this. So this is what we wish to achieve with our sentiment analysis model deployment. What you see here is basically an HTML web page that shows this heading sentiment analysis, has this text box that take any Amazon Alexa product review as input, and this predict button for sending query to model for predictions. Basis model response, we get a positive displayed here if the input review is a positive, or negative if the input review is negative. This seems fair, right? Now to achieve this, we need to build a Flask app with this architecture. The Flask app provides a cool front end, or basically this HTML web page, essentially what the user gets to see, and a sophisticated backend to interface with our model. If you have any questions at this point, do put them in the comment section below. I shall be happy to answer all your doubts in detail there. To build a Flask app, these are the building blocks. Within the Flask app, we shall load our model PKL file along with all the dependencies that our model is using. We shall also create a basic HTML web page to provide a cool looking front end to our project. So at this point, let's get started. So now I am in my local machine. I have created this folder projects here. And within this, I have this sentiment analysis project folder. If I open it, I have this sentiment analysis model pickle file, PKL file, which we built already. And this custom tokenizer function Python script that we have made use of while building our model. Both of these things we would need for model deployment. And I also have this app.py which I have built as a homework to myself. I'll take you through this in a minute. But before that, let me give you a visibility into how I sort of develop models, right? So within my home directory, I have this folder called reference files. So there are a couple of reference files here. One is the app.py that I'll take you through in a minute from now. And apart from this, I have this HTML page reference files, right? So for any project that I am in the process of deploying, these are the reference files I reuse. Now, let me take you through this app.py now. It's basically a Flask app that we need to also develop for our model. But before that, let me show you what is essentially the structure of this Flask app. Now I'm opening it in a notepad in Windows. So essentially, there are four parts to this Flask app. First one is the list of libraries that we refer to while building our model. So basically, these are all the dependencies that our model has, right? So whatever libraries, pandas, numpy, spaCy, Scikit-learn, which we have made use of while developing our model, we need to list all of them here so that we provide all these dependencies to our model for running smoothly, right? So right now there are just two. In this reference file, we need to sort of mention all the remaining two here. Second section of this Flask app is the model loading part, wherein we load our PKL model file within this Flask app. Third section is where we define our app. We give it a name. For example, in our case, we are calling our app as APP app. And the fourth part and the last part is this logic building part, wherein we write a logic for query handling, right? So imagine when a user is consuming this model on a front end, right? On an HTML page, the user gives a sample Alexa product review. For example, Alexa is good. Now, behind the scenes, this Flask app needs to have some logic in place which tells the app what to do with that query. So that query which is posted on the front end is flown back to the model within this Flask app, right? And this fourth section here is a logic that derives the entire query handling flow. So this is just a reference file that we will be using for our use case. Now, apart from this, we have this template and static folder for building an HTML web page for our project. Let me also take you through as to what it looks right now. So this is the reference HTML page that we have with us. So we will make some changes to this sample HTML page. So for example, this project heading is just a placeholder. We'll change it to our use case. So we'll call it sentiment analysis. This predict will change it to predict sentiment. Enter here will change it to enter Amazon Alexa review here, so that we are communicating it across to the user as to what is expected to be inserted here. And then this last one, prediction text, will keep it as is. This is just a placeholder for showcasing the model output on the web page. So now let me make a copy of these two HTML folders into our project directory. App.py I already have there. Okay. Now let me start off with this HTML change itself, right? I'll open it in a notepad. And as you can see, I have project heading here. I'll change it to sentiment analysis. Enter text here. I'll change it to enter Alexa product review here. Same I'll put here. This predict, I'll change it to predict sentiment. Yeah, and we're done. I'll just save it. So that's a benefit we have once we have, correct sort of references in place. So with just a few clicks, we get what we want, right? So with this, we have built an HTML page or a front end for our project. Next step is to build this Flask app. I've done some homework. Let me show you what I've done. So as I told you a while back, we need to create a list of all the dependencies that we have made use of while building our sentiment analysis model. So I have done that already. I have the entire list here. I have mentioned the name of the sentiment analysis model PKL file that we have in our project directory. Next up, I'm defining the Flask app that we are building, and towards the and I'm also sort of loading this custom tokenizer function that we have used for model building. And towards the end, this is the logic I have written. So there are two routes I have defined. One is the home and other one is the predict. So whenever the user opens the web page, home is what is displayed without the prediction text positive, negative, because it's meaningless to show it there. So for this, we are pointing the Flask app to index.html to show it as a front end to the user. And whenever a user types in a query, we use method post to point that query to our model. So on our model, we are calling this predict function, and we are presenting the user review for predictions. If the prediction is negative, we are telling our Flask app to use the same index.html, but this time mark prediction text as negative, right? And otherwise, if it is a positive review, use the same HTML template again, but this time mark prediction text as positive. That's it. So with this in place, now we also have the Flask app with us for deploying the model. But I'll say this is 40% there, not even 40%, this is 20% there. And the remaining 80% is what is gonna happen now, right? So we have the app in place, Flask app, we have the HTML in place. Next up, we need to create a virtual environment within this project directory and try running our model in it. A virtual environment is basically a system within a system, right? So basically within my machine, within my PC, I'm creating a small machine, which is a clean slate. It's just like you buying a new laptop that doesn't come with any software pre-installed, right? Apart from the OS. So the same way, we create this virtual environment within this directory and try running our model within that environment by installing only the specific dependencies that are relevant to our project. Right, when I say dependencies, only the specific libraries and packages that we are making use of for building this model, only those set of dependencies we install in our virtual environment and then try running the project. If it does, we are good. We are ready to deploy the project, showcase it to the world. Otherwise, we have a problem and we need to debug it. Right now, for creating a virtual environment, there's a simple process. I'm using a Windows machine, so in that I can just do a right click in my working directory and I can open a terminal. If you're using a Mac, you need to separately open the terminal, and in that then you need to navigate to the project directory, right? Post that, it's the same process that we are sort of doing here. So for creating a virtual environment, first thing is you need to install a virtual environment in your system. So for creating a virtual environment in your machine, first of all, you need to install this functionality. This is the command for doing this. And once the virtual environment is installed, so in my case, I already have the virtual environment installed. So it just says that requirement already satisfied. So if you're not sure whether you have it or not, simply you can run it. Simply you can install it. All right, once I have it installed, now let me create a virtual environment within my working directory. For that, what I just do is virtual env. I create a virtual environment with the name env, right? And now this environment is created in my system. It's like a clean slate, like a new laptop you buy. And now within this system, I need to sort of install all the dependencies that my model has, right? For that, I'll quickly open this app.py. And within this app.py, as I said a while back, I already have all the dependencies listed now. Okay. And in my terminal, right now I'm in my system, right, in my laptop, right? So I also need to activate the virtual environment. For that, what I simply do is I say mention the directory where I have my virtual environment activation file. Right. And with this, as you can see, now I am in my virtual environment. Now here I need to install all these dependencies one by one, right? So I start off with pip install pandas. Once you are done, next up I install NumPy. Next up we have Spacey. then Scikit-learn, oops, then we have joblib, then we have string, oops, next is Flask, because we are doing this entire deployment with Flask, so we need to install that too. And last is NLTK. Apart from all of this, we are also making use of a spacey package in our custom tokenizer function. So we need to install that too. This is the name of the package, Encore WebSM. All right, we are now done. So I'll just clear everything. So let's quickly review what we have done in the last few minutes. First, I took you through the reference files, app.py and the HTML reference page files. Then we customized the reference files to our use case. Then I took you through the app.py, basically the Flask app that we have built for this project. And then we created a virtual environment for attempting to run this project in a isolated environment, installing all the dependencies that are pertaining to our project. And now we are all set to make an attempt to run our project in this new environment, right? So I'm already in the virtual environment, as you can see env here, right? So now for running the project, I just say python app.py. Let's see if we get success. So as you can see, our project is running, right? It's a success. And over here, you can see that it says that it's running on this IP and this port, right? So for this, all you need to do is press Control and click on this URL. And voila, we have our project front end clearly displayed to us. And we are all good to go now, right? So you can test whatever review that comes to your mind. Alexa is good, for example. I search for it, I get a result, it's positive. And I also want to draw your attention to this URL, right? So you see predict here because we have called the predict on the Flask app, right, for making a prediction. So if I insert another review, Alexa is bad. For this, I see a negative. So the model works fine. So with this, we are good for our deployment. All we need to do now is first I'll press Control C to close this local host which is running for our sentiment analysis project. So now I'm back in my virtual environment. And what I need to do now is I'll need to prepare a requirement.txt file, right? So this requirement.txt file is essentially a documentation of all the libraries and packages that your model is making use of, right? That we essentially installed in this new virtual environment that we created within our project directory, right? So for that, there is a simple command. I say pip3 freeze And with this, as you can see, a requirement.txt file has gotten created in our project directory. And if I open it, you will see all the dependencies along with their versions that have been installed and are being used by our model, right? The version is also important here because the entire sort of machine learning world is evolving, and the libraries and packages keep keep having version updates, and whatever project of yours is running today on one version may not work tomorrow on a different version, right? So that's why this requirement.txt document also captures the version of the library and package which currently your project is using. Now the idea of creating the requirement.txt is simple, right? So if I sort of want to create a zip of all these files, right? And let's say I want to give it to you for trying it out in your machine, right? So with this requirement.txt, you know exactly what you need to install in your machine in order to run this project. Let's try to simulate it once. I go back to projects. Let's say this is not my machine, this is your machine now, right? And I create a folder within that machine, right? And let's say it's new project. I give it a name, new project, and over here I'll sort of dump these project files, and then I'll extract them here. Right, remember I'm not including the env, the virtual environment files, because for this project directory, this new project directory, I'm going to create a new virtual environment now, right? So a clean slate again for this project, right? And with that, essentially we are simulating sort of running this project in a fresh machine, maybe your machine, right? So what I'll do again is I'll open a new terminal. All right, and now I'll try create, and as I told you, right, in Windows, if you open it with a right click in that directory, it automatically sort of updates your working directory to that folder. So now I'll create a virtual environment. I already have a virtual environment installed in my machine, so I'll directly say virtual env, and this time let me create a new virtual environment. I'll call it new env, and a new env is created in my machine. And now whatever we are going to do from this point onwards is magic. So now for this new environment to be ready to run your project, you just need to run a single line of code: pip install read from requirements.txt. And system would automatically get to know what are the dependencies that are needed to be installed in this virtual environment. And within a minute or two, your system is ready to run this project. Right, and all I need to do now is python app.py. And as you may see, the project is now running on this port 5000. And if I do control and click, project is open in front of me, right? I can again try searching for reviews. I can say Alexa is awesome this time. And it says it's a positive review. And then I can say Alexa is terrible. Such a waste of money. Maybe I can say danger to privacy. And it says it's a negative review. So we are all done. So now with this entire exercise, you are ready to showcase your work to the entire world. GitHub is an internet hosting service that allows users to store, manage, track, and control changes on their project. For any new project, you create a Git repository with your project name, and then put all your project package files onto it. So in my case, I've already created this sentiment analysis repository on GitHub, right? And where I have hosted all these project package files, including the requirement.txt that we discussed just now. And the best part of GitHub is that it's very easy for you to showcase your work to the world. You can make any of your repository public, and then you can share the repository link with whoever you want to sort of show your project to. Cool, right? If you want us to do a separate video on how to navigate through GitHub and how to leverage it for your machine learning project, do let us know in the comment section below, and we'll sort of take this requirement forward. By the way, for downloading these package files, you can go to the Scikit GitHub repository and download the package files from here. Or we have also provided the package files, project package files onto this Scikit toolkit already, right? So you may sort of pick it from here as well. Among machine learning professionals, deployment is considered to be the trickiest affair, and there are thousands of crazy memes around model deployment. These are the few memes I leave you with to excite you further to stay curious and keep learning. To get regular updates on our ML projects, do subscribe to our channel and recommend us to your friends as well, so they may also get benefited from our work. Good luck to you. Bye.